Imagine if Bitcoin was worth $230,000. According to Bitwise's recent research, that's Bitcoin's true value right now. And perhaps you ask, how did they get to this price? Well, their team ran the numbers based off of today's global markets and arrived at a price target that's grabbing attention across the financial world right now. This forecast lands at a moment when the US is finalizing new trade agreements. Central banks, we know, are preparing to release fresh waves of liquidity, and record-breaking sums of money are entering or rotating into the markets at speeds that could change everything in a matter of weeks. Every time the US strikes a trade deal or a central bank starts quantitative easing or printing more money, Bitcoin stands to benefit as demand for hard assets grow. Capital is flowing fast right now across borders into new asset classes, and Bitcoin is at the crosshairs or the crossroads between all of this. Today, I'll break down the data behind the $230,000 call or estimation I just stated, and I'll show you how the world's most powerful players are lining up for exposure. And I'll also lay out what these changes mean for your strategy, for my strategy, whether you're brand new to crypto or have been here for years. Then, in the second half of today's video, I'll walk you through Solana. We're going to get into Solana, which is one of the top layer ones this bull market, and it has one of the most active ecosystems in the entire crypto sector. I'll share all the information you need to know about it, so you're always ahead of the curve. That is my desire for you this bull run, and that's why I'm sharing today's video, focusing specific on Solana with you, so you're aware and can get into it, or can have your conviction and faith increased for your Solana holdings. But all right, so let's get into part one of today's video. The last few days have brought a wave of global news that the markets, quite frankly, have been craving. The US and Mexico are closing in on a deal that will remove tariffs on steel imports. We know lower tariffs mean more open trade, more money flowing across the border, and usually it produces or provokes a more risk-on taking attitude in the markets. Because there's more money in the market, people feel more willing to invest and make riskier moves. This is extremely bullish news for everything from stocks to crypto. Meanwhile, after years of tension, the US and China have agreed in principle, on a new trade framework after what seems to have been a marathon of negotiations in London. The US and China's trade war has been one of the biggest sources of uncertainty, fear, and distress in the market. So seeing this chapter finally come to an end, many thought was just not going to happen, is an extremely strong signal of confidence. It's bullish for all investors everywhere. And in Japan, the central bank is gearing up for a new round of quantitative easing or printing of money. In plain English, or in simplified English, this means that the Bank of Japan is about to start pumping money into the financial system by buying government bonds, making it easier for businesses and investors to borrow, spend, and invest. Arthur Hayes, who's been right on plenty of big cycles, and this is why I reference him, he says this could be the next big catalyst for Bitcoin. When money gets cheaper and more abundant, people start looking for harder assets. And Bitcoin sits at the top of this food chain. And if we search for proof that money is getting bold, all we have to do is look at the markets. US stocks are now just 2% away from hitting new all-time highs. That's such a sigh of relief to the whole market. This is a sign that investors everywhere are getting hungry for returns and feeling more confident about the regulatory environment they're operating in. Meanwhile, for the first time ever, the total value of the US bond market has dropped to just 68% of the value of the US stock market. This is historic. Bonds are supposed to be the slow and steady anchor of global finance. But right now, Risk-taking is back in. It's back in style, you could say, and crypto stands to benefit. But now, let's just pause that for a second, keep it in mind, because now we're going to zoom in on Bitcoin specifically, because just yesterday, Bitcoin's ETFs in the US saw a net inflow or new money pouring into Bitcoin's ETFs of more than $430 million. If you're new to all of this, and if you are not new to all of this, then just bear with me. But we know an ETF is a kind of investment fund you can buy like a stock, but it tracks Bitcoin. It means regular people, basically, retirement funds and big institutions can buy Bitcoin exposure, right? Gain some value from Bitcoin as an asset. They can gain exposure without needing to deal with private wallets or exchanges or buy it themselves, which would be ideal technically. The chief investment officer at Bitwise, as I was referencing in my intro, said on CNBC that thousands of companies are about to follow in Strategy, Michael Saylor's company. They're about to follow in Strategy's footsteps and start accumulating and buying Bitcoin for their own treasuries. If corporate America starts copying this strategy, no pun intended, Michael Saylor's formerly MicroStrategy and now Strategy, we're talking about a structural, unstoppable wall of demand for Bitcoin. And to build on this, we see politics and mining colliding. A Trump-backed Bitcoin mining firm in America just acquired their first $23 million worth of Bitcoin, all while research houses like Bernstein are making the kind of price calls that would have sounded insane just a year ago, predicting Bitcoin at $200,000 by end of the year. We also see GameStop, a retail favorite. There's a whole movie on it called Eat the Rich. I totally recommend it. Well, GameStop just bought 4,700 Bitcoin, over $500 million worth. But here's something to keep an eye on. Bitcoin's funding rates have turned negative. And what this means is that traders are paying a premium. They're paying more to bet against Bitcoin right now. And if the price moves up instead, it could force a lot of those traders to buy back in at a higher price. A move called a short squeeze, which is actually what the whole movie around GameStop is about. And this is rocket fuel for a big breakout if it happens. Meanwhile, the long-term holders are stronger than ever. Glassnode data shows a record 14.4 million Bitcoin are now held by investors who aren't interested in selling their Bitcoin anytime soon. And this kind of conviction shrinks supply. It makes less available for sale and puts even more pressure on the price, which increases the price as new demand pours in and will be pouring in here soon. So if you want to get an idea or gauge how mainstream this is getting, Ray Dalio, one of the most respected hedge fund managers of all time and author of what's the book called, like A Changing Order, he just called Bitcoin a global currency and pointed to surging adoption. A Coinbase survey just revealed that 60% of Fortune 500 companies are now working on blockchain projects. This isn't maybe someday. This is happening right now, and it's accelerating. Finally, let's take a look and talk about price structure or patterns. Bitcoin has now traded above $100,000 for 33 days in a row, over a month, and this is a sign of real sticky demand. We've never seen a setup like this. And for anyone still thinking they've missed the train or it's too late, oh no, I can't buy Bitcoin now, just remember the fundamentals have never been stronger. So forget all the noise, everything in the media, forget all of that, okay? Just looking at the fundamentals, as I just pointed out, we are primed. We are going to be looking at a Bitcoin that's going to be pumping here very, very soon. So you're still in time. That said, let us examine Solana. Because if all of this is happening with Bitcoin, the natural question that then is, where's the next big opportunity? Where should your attention go? Where would I put my attention if I was new to crypto and I wanted to get more risk? How can I say it? If I wanted an opportunity to invest in something that is going to bring me higher returns. And yes, is riskier because it's not digital gold. It's not Bitcoin. Nothing is like Bitcoin. But if I wanted to invest more money to see a higher return and invest in like what is comparable to like the next future Facebook or Microsoft in the world, I would be looking at Solana. And that's why we're going to check it out. We're going to zoom in on Solana today. As I covered last week, I believe it was Friday, in my Chainlink video, which I would recommend you to go check out if you're also interested in checking out a different blue chip opportunity to invest in crypto. As we saw in that video, the landscape in the world and in crypto is quickly shifting towards using blockchains that are seeing real adoption and have proven this over the years. The world right now is interested in platforms where more people, businesses, and even institutions are building and using new technology. One of these ecosystems, once again, showing the strongest momentum and growing real-world use right now is Solana. And if you're already invested in Solana, you may know a lot of what I'm about to share, but chances are you're going to also be pleasantly surprised to hear a lot of what I'm going to share. So let's begin. Let me show you why this moment could be historic for Solana and why this is the time to start paying attention if you have not already. So let's just zoom across some basics really fast. We know that Solana is a high-speed, low-fee blockchain built for real-world utility. In simple English, think of it as the backbone for a new generation of financial apps, platforms, and marketplaces, comparable to like iOS for Apple or, the Android store. Think of it as something like that. Solana can process about 3,000 transactions per second. With fees so low, you probably won't even notice them. Less than a penny each. And this is a big, big deal if you've ever waited for a blockchain transaction to get through or paid high fees just to send a friend some crypto. We know this has been true. This is true for Bitcoin. It takes a long time for transactions to settle. And it's definitely true for Ethereum, though they're trying to improve, right? And I covered this in yesterday's video. But let's talk numbers. Solana is topping the charts with more than 34 million weekly active addresses, more than 3 times its closest competitor. The network moves huge value with 364 billion in on-chain volume just in January alone, which is on par with NASDAQ. The stablecoin float on Solana has jumped 156% this year, up to over $13 billion, with USDC making up most of it. Solana's total value locked in DeFi, which is the money actively working in decentralized finance applications, or you can think of them as companies, rebounded from its previous 6.1 billion in April to over 7.5 billion in May. The platform has already processed more than $800 billion equivalent in DEX trading volume in 2025, which is 4 times last year's tally or total. And what's even more impressive is Solana now captures 57% of all decentralized app revenue, up from less than 1% just 2 years ago. So think about how fast it's grown. In May alone, the network saw a 37% jump in real economic value, a 22% surge in app revenue, and 32% growth in DEX trading volume. The only thing that dropped was the stablecoin supply, which is just a healthy rebalancing. On the developer side of things, Solana is moving at warp speed. The new starter kit and app kit make it possible to launch a web or mobile app in minutes, not days like it was before. This means more real products and a constant stream of new use cases hitting the market. Now, here's what makes this moment stand out. The odds of a Solana ETF being approved by the US by August are now at 90%. The SEC has even requested updated filings, so the regulatory wheels are turning. But here's the kicker. Unlike Bitcoin and Ethereum, Solana doesn't have a mountain of old trust assets waiting to be dumped on the market when the ETF launches. Grayscale's Solana Trust holds just 83 million in Solana, compared to billions for ETH and Bitcoin. So in simple terms, almost every dollar that comes into a Solana ETF is new buying pressure. This is rare. It's like getting a clean slate. There's no sell wall, just fresh demand. This could make Solana's ETF launch the strongest one we've seen, with a real shot at explosive upside. And Solana isn't just about user numbers. It's about credibility from the world's biggest financial players. France's largest bank is about to launch a USD-backed stablecoin on Solana, with the Bank of New York Mellon as a custodian. So if you're wondering what a stablecoin is, just think of it as a digital dollar that stays pegged to $1 used for trading, saving, or paying for things on chain. Having major banks and institutions back a stablecoin on Solana is a stamp of legitimacy. Big brands are also moving in. We know that Visa is piloting USDC on Solana. Shopify natively supports Solana Pay, and even PayPal is exploring Solana for their own stablecoin settlement. BitGet, which has over 80 million users, just rolled out QR code Solana Pay at the Solana APAC Summit. This means you can buy things instantly in real life using Sol or stablecoins on your phone at the point of sale, just like Apple Pay. And on the price side of things, Solana rebounded just this week after a market dip. And traders are watching the $120 to $130 equivalent support zone for a possible move up towards 220 if momentum keeps building. So the narrative is changing, guys. Early this year, Solana was the retail casino with all the meme coins. Now it's about real world payments, gaming, enterprise, and tokenization. This is the app layer. This is mainstream utility, not just speculation. So if you're new to all this, once again, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. This is what this means. Solana isn't just riding a hype wave anymore. It's pulling ahead on real adoption, real users, and serious institutional attention. The ETF pipeline is primed. There's no legacy overhang. Big banks and fintech are building and developers are shipping actual products on Solana. So if you're watching this, you're still definitely early, but the window of being early is closing fast. This is definitely the dawn of a new DeFi era. And here's what's next. As we wrap up today's show, I want to end with a historic regulatory shift that could reshape everything. The SEC chair, Paul Atkins, just announced that DeFi platforms, decentralized finance, right, will be exempt from the harshest regulatory restrictions. He put it bluntly.
Another core feature of blockchain technology is the ability of individuals to have self-custody of crypto assets in a personal digital wallet. The right to have self-custody of one's private property is a foundational American value that should not disappear when one logs onto the internet.
The right to have self-custody of one's private property is a foundational American value. I would say even right. As I was saying in yesterday's video, our Bill of Rights should be updated to include this right, okay? Because it's a value that should not disappear when one logs on to the internet. This is a game changer. This is the kind of a signal that tells you the gatekeepers can't lock you out. This is the next big era of crypto. True custody, unstoppable DeFi innovation. It's all here, guys. And it's not just for Bitcoin, but for Solana too, for Ethereum, for the whole ecosystem. All eyes are going to be on DeFi now. And we want to be the first to take advantage of this. Tomorrow, we're diving deep into the top DeFi projects on the Solana ecosystem. We're going to focus on one or two. You'll have to tune in tomorrow to check it out. And I'll explain everything you need to know to understand the opportunity before the next wave hits, because by the time that comes, it's too late. So if you got value out of this video, I would just ask you to do me a huge favor. It means so much to me. Just like the video, like it, leave me a question or a comment. And definitely share it with a friend or family member that needs to hear this. Okay, everybody needs to hear this. Everyone wants to make more money and improve their life or do something new, and this is what opportunities like this can provide for you. So guys, I love you very much. I'll catch you in my video tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss it. We're going to get into the next project, as I was saying, the biggest in Solana's ecosystem. And until then, just take care. I love you very much, and ciao.